paper clear off what was dead.
I set it up. I stopped it for a minute.
Oh, okay.
So do you want, is it 6:30?
Yes.
So we'll open the meeting. We didn't have an agenda for the meeting, do we?
No, this is it.
Okay.
I'm just having a, oh, shoot. Sorry, here's your ordinance.
Okay, yeah. So I'd like to take a minute to read through the stuff we just got handed. That makes sense?
The letters?
Yeah, I mean, I think we gotta see what they're saying. You got Catsificus's letter too, right? Jim wrote something that I read.
It was an email.
It was an email, right, it was an email, it was positive for doing it.
Yeah.
Whenever you guys are ready, whenever you've read through them, we'll
Go for it.
You good, Gary? Is anything else? So the two things that pop out at me is it really $14,000 for them to foreclose on a unit? Does that make any sense?
No, I don't.
That was in the letter from
I saw that too.
from Charlie Katz-Levy, the lawyer, associate, tens of thousands of dollars in legal fees.
So when we met with Peter
Melodite?
Melendike,
Yeah.
did he not explain to us that it was a $1,600 cost per unit for them to foreclose on, for back
I
maintenance?
thought so, yeah.
So I don't know about tens of thousands of dollars.
Right.
It is when you got a list like we've got.
But that therein lies the problem, right? The problem is that they have a commodity that's not profitable.
Yeah, in some cases they said that.
Right, they feel this will make it worse. Right, you read the theme.
I don't see how it's gonna make it worse. If you owe $100 here or $100 there, you pay it, you know what I mean?
Right, agreed, yeah, agreed. The other question, a couple of them talked about it feeling rushed. We started in December. Now, I don't know when they were informed about it, but, so it's been December, January, February, it's been 3 months.
Yeah.
So I don't know what, I don't know what.
Probably what happened is they didn't have one of their meetings for 3 months or something,
Right.
you know?
Right,
Well, and actually the first time I brought this ordinance to you was in November.
yeah, I know, I'm talking about
The HOA.
the HOAs being informed of it was December,
No,
November?
I informed Sunday River that this was a possibility in September.
So I wonder when the HOAs found out.
I don't
Because
know.
remember, the HOAs on Sunday River.
Right, but I was, I informed Sunday River that this was a possibility in September. So I wonder when the HOAs found out. I don't know. Because remember, the HOAs aren't Sunday River. Right, but I was, asked the whole reason this came about was because the treasurer for the Jordan asked us to start foreclosing. So I started looking into what that looks like, what our possibilities
Right.
are, blah,
Right.
blah, blah.
Yep.
This came up. I sat down with Sarah Petron in end of September and showed her, look, this is a possibility, gives you all of the ball is completely in your court. You can foreclose on these. You have control over the process.
Right.
And that, you know, it didn't go anywhere. It didn't go anywhere. So I waited. I was waiting to hear back from Sunday River. Where are we going with this? And then I brought it to you in the beginning of November and said, hey, this is our first viewing of this. Where do we want to go with this? And then we said, okay, we're going to send it out to the HOAs, and then we sent it back out to them, asking for some feedback, and we hadn't heard anything, and then I formally sent it to both Peter and Karen, who are the HOA presidents for each hotel, at the end of December. So I don't know that this has been a rushed process. We've learned a lot, learned all kinds of things about timeshares that
Right, the whole
Yeah.
process has been,
learned a lot.
learned a lot. Lots of layers to the onion, as I
There
keep saying.
certainly are, but this is a policy decision. Policy decision is, does the town want to continue to incur and bear the cost to the rest of the taxpayers, the cost of assessing and taxing 1,225 units, or do we want to bear that down to 2? That's where we're at. And the ordinance is pretty clear that they shall pay us, so we will get paid, and that's the policy question here.
I think and I guess I'm not with you on, it's about the 1,000 units or the 2 units. Because that we do, you know, part of what the town does is collect taxes. I mean, that's what we do, you know what I mean? We don't assess associations, we don't assess neighborhoods, we assess.
If we were allowed to, we would. If we were allowed to, Jim, we would do all of that. The state allows us to say, hey, we understand that timeshares are a burden to the town. So we're going to give you this out clause, and you can enact this ordinance, and you can, you know, go from assessing 1,225 people to assessing 2 different associations. And that's a policy question. It's really, that's the policy question, is do we want to walk away from continuing what we've been doing because we didn't know that there was another way of doing it, or are we going to try this different way of taxing these timeshares because they are a burden?
So I'm not trying to pick a side, but let me finish my thought. We as a town, we collect taxes. I mean, that's what we do, I get that. We're set up, we can do all that sort of stuff. To me, it's not about reducing how many taxes we send out, because if we need to send, you know, as that town continues to grow, we're gonna send more tax bills, that's okay. I'm good with tax bills. You know, that's revenue for the town, that's not something that's a bad thing for us. So let me finish. So that one you just need to put, I'm not with you on that. The question for me, as I've been saying from the beginning, is what's best for the town? What is the best way to do this for the town? And I think, you know, there's been all sorts of confusion on people paying their tax bills or not paying their tax bills. I thought it was in the HOA fees. To me, it seemed very clean, clear, neat that you just hand this to the HOAs and let them do it. The HOAs, although haven't formally done it, I've heard it, you know, from my connections, people have said, why won't the town just foreclose? You know, why won't the town just foreclose on it? Because there's no value in the town foreclosing on it, so that's not something we're ever going to do because we don't want to pay the HOA fees. That's the reason the town won't foreclose. Once that changed, now that's the piece that's a different game for me. We can give the HOAs the entire power to do it, let them do the foreclosing. They don't want it. So, you know, up to us whether it's best for the town to give it to them or not. And as I said, I'm not trying to lobby sides. We can do that. We we can collect taxes and send out liens if we want. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, we can collect taxes and send out liens and not finish the process like we thought we were doing before? You just send these things off into Never Never Land like we've done for the past 10 years? Not lobbying for that either, but we can do that, correct?
Not legally, not legally. I mean, without doing the waiver of foreclosure, which costs the town more money.
Right.
So, yeah, I agree. We've got a problem. HOA doesn't want to deal with them. We don't want to deal with them. We don't want to foreclose on them. The HOA doesn't want to foreclose on them. That's why we have 30 of them. Because back in the day, the HOA used to foreclose on the maintenance fees, pay off the town, and then they would go away.
Right.
Well, they stopped doing that. Because they don't want to deal with it anymore. It costs them too much money. The units aren't worth what the resale plus selling us off, plus doing it. There isn't enough money in it. So they stopped doing it. We never did it. We were just expecting them at some point to ask us to quit claim deed it back to either the person they sold it to or to the condo association. They stopped doing that process.
To be clear, we never did it because we thought we'd have to pay the HOA fees. That's why we never did it. That's my understanding. That's my belief. You guys were at the town meeting. You were at the town meeting. I mean, Brooks, you were at the town meeting. The reason we didn't foreclose on these things because we didn't want to pay HOA fees, right? I mean, that was.
I think that's what I've been hearing for a long time.
Yeah, that was incorrect, but that was our logic. That's the game changer. That's the piece. So again, I'm not lobbying for it one way or the other, and I'm as torn as can be on this. It sure would have been a whole lot easier if the HOA said, yeah, great, we finally have the control we want. You know, clearly someone at the Jordan wanted it, so they asked if we would do it.
They want us to do it.
They want us to foreclose.
They want us. See, that's the thing. Like,
Yeah.
the reality is we have the HOA that they don't want to foreclose. They don't want to foreclose on the taxes. They don't want to foreclose on the maintenance fees. They don't want to foreclose on anything. And we don't want to foreclose. We don't want to be in the business of foreclosing and selling these things off because this right here is going to cost $600.
To sell those.
Just to put that ad in the paper for 2 or 3 weeks is going to cost the town over $600. And then the time and the effort of doing the quitclaim deeds and registering those quitclaim deeds, it's real money.
Is it tens of thousands of dollars?
No. But it's not tens of thousands of dollars for them.
But what is it? What's real money?
Well, I mean, where we would be saving not having to send out 1,225 tax bills. So you times that by probably $1.50 or $1.80, so there's a couple $1,000s there. The foreclosure process on each one of these is probably between $50 and $100 each quitclaim deed. And that's just raw numbers. They're not, time included because we're here, we're doing it. But those are going to be raw numbers. It's going to be material and research and all of that. They're going to add up. And the understanding I had when I got here was, we don't worry about these because the HOA will foreclose on them for back maintenance fees and then they pay us off and everything's honky-dory, and then they stop doing that because the market fell out and they can't resell them for the cost of doing the foreclosure, the back HOA fees and the taxes. They can't do it. So,
and they've told you that. That's
what they said. Peter Melendijk just pretty much told us that when we were in that meeting. He said, it costs us $1,600 to do that, and then they have their HOA fees, and then they have the town's taxes on top of that. They're not selling those for $3,000 or $4,000 a piece to cover all those costs. So I get it. They have a commodity nobody wants, and the town doesn't.
But yet they can still rent them out, make money on them, and we get nothing, they do. Because we don't pay the HOA fees, we don't get anything back.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, clear Amy is recommending we let them do it, right? That's your recommendation.
My
is let them do it.
recommendation is you let them
Clear
do it.
Amy, you know,
Bethel does this?
Bethel does this.
They do it with Bethel Inn, right?
They do it with Bethel Inn and they do it with Riverview. Bethel does this, I've talked to them. Rangeley does this. Sandy River Plantation does this. Southwest Harbor does this. Cranberry Island does this. Ellsworth has not finished through with it, but they're planning to do it in 2020.
then there's a whole nother level of whether we care who owns them or not, but that's a separate conversation. Should say care, keep record of.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, I don't know why we have tax cards on them, other than to know who owns them, because there's nothing on them. Nothing.
What would we have, we'll say, this was cleaned up, what would we have, maybe 2 or 3 of them a year that we'd have to foreclose on after
No.
the time runs out? I don't know, I just asking. If it stayed the way
I
it is.
waived 33 of them. I waived 33 of them in 2017. This is, I mean, at least this, so if I have to put this out in the paper a couple of times, this is a really big ad that has to go in the paper, so like I said, it's gonna cost us a lot of money to put this ad in, because ads are ridiculously
It's gonna probably
expensive.
cost us what we get out of a couple of units.
Yeah. At least right now, like, you're getting, the cost per unit should be fairly low, but when you only have 2 or 3, it's even more expensive because,
I was just looking,
Yeah.
trying to look at all the pictures here.
I think this is an expense for the rest of the town. That the state has clearly said, you don't have to bear it.
I get that, but everything's expense for the rest of the town. I mean, that's you.
Right,
you know,
but
you-
it could be the expense bared by the quarter share owners of that HOA, and then they're bearing the expense of actually doing the taxation through this ordinance. Right now, everyone else is bearing the expense of taxing the HOA.
And every time I talk, I feel like I'm trying to defend it, and I'm not. But I'm okay with that. I mean, that's how the town works. That's how, you
Right, but if-
you own a house that has certain value, you share the cost based on the value of your, and they share, and that's how it works. That's how the town works. I'm okay with that. And that piece of it I'm fine with.
If the state allowed us to do it that way for every condo, I'm sure we would do it. I'm sure we would. You know what I mean? If they allowed you to do that for every homeowners association, at Peaks Village, if the state allowed that, why wouldn't you take advantage of that?
Because we want to take care of the people. Because we want to
Right, but you want to provide different services. That service, they don't even recognize that service. They don't even recognize that as a service.
collecting taxes.
Nobody recognizes that as a service. They recognize the ambulance coming, they recognize the fire coming when your house is on fire, they recognize the police department, they recognize having a place to bring your trash, but they consider this a burden. Paying your taxes is a burden. I don't think that most people see this as a service that the town provides.
Paying your taxes is a burden, but collecting them is, I think, something the town does for us. But, Brooks, you had something?
I just gonna make the point that, the ordinances and rules should apply to all taxpayers in town. So with this scenario, if I didn't pay my taxes, the town would foreclose on me in a heartbeat. But this seems to be a loophole for this certain type of ownership,
Because of
the,
what it is.
what it is.
Yeah, and we talked about at the beginning, earlier, it's not a thing, it's not a physical, it's a time. Right, you're foreclosing on time. And I get it, as I said, I thought this, at the beginning of this, I thought it would be very beneficial, and I thought that HOAs will be all about it. You know, they, we'll just give them control of their units, they can do what they want.
The problem, I think, with the HOA is they don't have any money in their account. And this is just one more thing that's gonna suck it up.
Right.
But when I look at it and I say, okay, if I own one of them and I'm paying $300 a year for the fees and the $200 on taxes, so if I'm paying $500, I'm paying $500 whether it's here or I'm paying it here or here. You know?
For the average owner, they don't.
Yeah,
Yeah. Right, and at the end of the day, the money we save by not doing it, the owner there should save that money.
a percentage of it.
Right, just like all of us will.
Yeah. The only thing I see with that is if it's the HOA is doing it all and we're only getting 50% of the taxes that are owed, now what do we do?
No, they have to pay us.
They have to?
Yeah. They have to pay us.
But what if they don't? For whatever reason, the HOA goes
Then they're fine.
belly
They
up or
shouldn't
whatever.
I already asked this.
Yeah.
I already asked this because I was like, I'm prepared for this one. No, it says they shall pay us. They shall initial foreclosure and complete foreclosure within 10 months or pay us.
But we can't foreclose on them if they don't.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's not true either. We learned that over the weekend.
Oh, I thought we had learned everything.
No.
I thought we'd, so that's, so,
Yeah. It depends on how we do it. If we're doing it the way that Bethel and Rangeley and Cindy Plantation and all of them, then yeah, we can foreclose on the HOA. If we continue to do what we're doing and have individual cards, we can continue the foreclosure process based on what they've submitted, and we can foreclose on them ourselves.
so they collect the taxes, but we do the foreclosing. Is that what you just said?
They're supposed to foreclose. That's what the ordinance says, that they're going to foreclose.
Right, but if they don't, we
Yes.
can't, not foreclose on the entire HOA, we can foreclose on the units that are.
Depending on how we do it.
If you word it so the whole hotel's involved in it, somebody's gonna make sure it's paid.
Yeah.
But that was so what I understood until moments ago
Yeah.
was if we worded this so the whole hotel pays, that the one thing that we lost was our ability to foreclose. That doesn't say that they don't owe us the taxes. They still owe us the taxes, but we can't get it through foreclosure. We had to get it another way.
Well, if they're in violation of the ordinance, then there's the violation penalties, we can go in that route. Or through the actual law, if you go to Title 33 MSRA, Chapter 10A, subsection 591 through 595, it says that we can foreclose.
We're pretty much covered then.
Yeah. Yep. I don't see a lose for the town. I get it. That change is difficult and the HOA doesn't want to see us change the way we're doing things, but they also want us to start foreclosing on these units, and they want us to, do the dirty work for them so they can get owners in there that will pay. And we have an ability as a town to say, well, you can too, and this is how.
There was one of these I was reading where they was talking about maintenance. They gotta put a roof and do all this stuff, and they hadn't charged for that. Well, that's not our problem.
Right.
Right, and you put a value to it, you ask people to pay their taxes, their fair share of,
Yeah,
they use a community like everybody else, they pay their fair share to
yeah.
be part of the community, that's fair.
And
That's-
we also have, there's arguments in there that by doing this, it's gonna reduce the taxable value. I don't believe that, these are way over, let me be clear. These units are assessed way too much. Probably 200, 300, 400% too much. I think the lowest assessed unit is $5,000 and you'd be lucky to be able to sell that for 500. So the reality is, we understand as a town, when we do this reval, that their tax bill is gonna go from $70,000 to 17, probably. Do you understand what I mean? Like, it's.
So Bob Gringers had said to us though, that, because we redid those a few years ago, he changed the value of those a few years ago, and Bob had said at some point it's the bottom, we're not going any lower. And I don't know if he said that until there's a reval, but he said there was that, we're not going any lower. You remember that conversation?
There was something to that effect, but I don't know about what you said to a reval.
When we do a reval, it has to be based on sales. And they have to be arm's length transactions. They can't be, hey Tank, I got a deal for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It has to be, I truly sold my timeshare for $700. And that's what the real market value for that timeshare is. But when we do a reval, all those units are gonna be, and I will say that those timeshares or the hotel value for each one of them is gonna go down because they're not selling for even close to what we have them appraised for. And that argument that is being stated that this is gonna hurt that, I don't think that's gonna affect that at all. I think this person that we just signed the quitclaim deed establishes that there are people that have caught on that we're not gonna do anything about the taxes, but if they keep paying their HOA fees, they get to use the units. And we have that. This does away with that. You pay it or you can't use it or whatever. Whatever their rules are as an HOA, it is what it is, but if they're sending out the bill and the HOA fee is, I think the most I've ever seen a tax bill for one of those units is like $390. If their HOA fees go up $100, that's gonna affect their ability to pay a quarter.
But they won't be getting a tax bill from us, they're
Right.
getting it, so,
It's included in the.
right, so,
But the other thing that, I don't know that we're looking at, if that quarter share is a $300 tax bill, that's times 4, because there's 4 other people that own it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, those are penthouses, but yeah. But that person's still gonna get a bill from the HOA for that maintenance fee and it's gonna go up $100. And then when we do the reval, it's probably gonna go up $25.
We'll go down when we do the reval, right?
Right, so, yeah, that's what I mean. It'll go from $100 more to $75 less.
Maybe.
Well, or less.
Because I think sometimes we're just looking at the value of what the one person owes us, but we're actually times 4 for what we're collecting on that unit.
Question for me is what's best for the town, not what's easiest, what's best. That's the decision, we gotta, what's best for the town is what we need to do. Not what's easiest for the town, but what's best for the town.
Yeah.
And sometimes what's easiest is what's best. Sometimes it's not. Because it's clearly easier. I mean, it's clearly easier for us. Takes the burden off of us, I get that.
if we do this, I don't know how that cannot be better for the town, because we're gonna get paid the taxes.
We're probably we're gonna have to, correct, we're gonna have to chase them through legal means other than leaning, although that may have just changed tonight. You sure of that, Amy? We can do this, and we can do this, and we can just lien the individual property owner, even though we're not collecting the taxes from them. How the hell are we gonna do that?
Yeah, because we don't know which one
Because
of the four.
they're required to pay and do the lien. It's a part of the ordinance, it's a part of the law. It says shall, doesn't say may, it says shall. So we can go through if they don't pay us, they're in violation of law.
Right, I get that, but up until tonight, I thought that we couldn't lien them. That there was other ways we would get the money, but it wasn't by liening them. Now we can lien them.
So it really depends, yes, yep, no, that's what my understanding over the weekend is. From Katsvikis having a conversation with the Summit HOA lawyer, was that the town can go after them through tax title lien process if we individually keep the tax cards and update who owns them. If we choose not to do that, then we're waiving that right, and we can just go after the HOA for the taxes they're not A, collecting, and B, paying us.
And if we do that, we can't do that by just liening them. We have to do that.
We wouldn't want to. It takes too long.
Well, you'd have to do it.
Because it'd be a lump sum. It's one thing when $50 is owed or $100 is owed, but when they owe us $10,000, you're not gonna wanna wait 2.5 years to get it. You're gonna wanna go after them.
Board decision. We can make it tonight?
No.
Can't make it tonight? What are we waiting for?
You just adjourned your meeting. You're in a public hearing.
Ah,
Mhm.
there you go.
Yeah.
That's what we're waiting for.
Yeah. So, I mean, Tuesday will be on the agenda, and you'll have to make a decision on Tuesday if you're enacting this ordinance or if we're not.
So do we question the tens of thousands of dollars? And Jim has recommended that we do this. Right? He's shown no downside. I guess he has come short of recommending that we do this, but
Yeah, I'd like to see, yeah, and I'm not making a motion because we're not in the meeting, but I'd like to see a letter from him that we could put in the file that
There already is a letter, you got it
10
three weeks ago.
10 years from now, that we got documentation of
Yeah.
what, because like with this back stuff, we didn't have
Yeah.
a lot of documentation
No.
on.
it's the email we got. You know, here's all the reasons why to do it. I think it comes up one sentence short of saying, I recommend you do it.
Yeah,
Do we want to ask him for that?
well.
That's already in the minutes from that meeting when I brought it to you, as well as the.
So he has recommended we do it.
I don't know that he actually said to, but I think it's.
He doesn't see a downside.
Right, so that's the point I'm making. He said I don't see a downside. There's a slight difference between that and I say do it. But that's just a question I'm asking. And that may be very nitpicky and doesn't matter. If we don't care about that, we don't care about that.
Yeah. The only thing I wanted to do is make sure that we had something on the record, because we can't seem to find this back thing for sure.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, we never had in writing that the
Yeah.
town, we never had in writing that the town would have to pay HOA fees.
That's
We never
what
had
I'm
that.
getting at.
Right.
I wanna
We
see
all
that.
assumed that.
Yeah, I wanna see that.
We have it in writing now in the minutes that you don't.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah, and it's in the packet for that meeting. As well as the letter from Katsvikis that outlined the pros and cons, and he didn't come up with any cons for the ordinance to enact the ordinance.
It's midnight, anything else?
Yeah.
Very odd having a public meeting without any public. Brooks, don't take that wrong, you're
No,
kinda not public, you know?
I'll do my best to
You're paying
make
to be the
it
public, right?
It seems to be how much somebody cares, and the people care.
So we've got a bunch of stuff to think about. So when we come back Tuesday, we can either enact this, if we so choose, or not.
Or
Yep.
table it, or,
I mean, the only question for me is, do we need any more information to make a decision? I guess the only question I would ask would be, when the lawyer said, when somebody says to me it's gonna cost us tens of thousands of dollars, show me that. I mean, what do you mean? Because I might be missing something. You need to be talking about, you know, it's gonna cost us a couple $1,000s a year, that adds up quickly, and this is, you know, over time, it's gonna cost us tens of thousands of dollars. Or is he saying to close every year, it's gonna cost us tens of thousands of dollars? That's the question, that's the only clarification that when I read through all of those letters, that was the only thing that what? I don't understand that.
So, and I don't wanna prolong this any more than I absolutely have to, but how do they get them to pay if they don't foreclose? How do they get these people that own these timeshares that are not paying their maintenance fees, how do they get them to pay if they don't foreclose on a lien?
lock the door.
They just let them sit there and then they don't get any dues coming in for those units? Because that's what's happening at the Jordan, correct?
So in a
So regardless, if we give them the real estate taxes or not, they have to foreclose on those maintenance fees to get those into somebody's hands that are gonna pay. Because we've clearly said we're not gonna do it. So they're putting out, and the letter that we got from Jensen Baird is saying that if we do this, we're incurring tens of thousands of dollars in costs.
I think that's his.
Then they should be incurring that cost anyway, if they want people to pay for those units and their maintenance fees.
So that would be the only thing that I would, that would be the only thing that I think it would be worth asking him the question, explain. Where's the tens of thousands of dollars? Explain.
Probably the tens of thousands of dollars is, every unit's got 4 taxpayers at X number of dollars. Add up all those X number of dollars, and that's the number they come up with.
But only one of them's not paying. I mean, I think,
Right.
I mean, the point you're making is they need to go after the.
They have to go after the
They-
maintenance fees to get them into somebody's hands that's gonna pay.
Right.
So if they're delinquent in their maintenance fees and they do nothing, then they have people that don't pay anything. If they wanna move those into people's hands that wanna pay, regardless if we give them this ordinance or not, they still have to pay those tens of thousands of dollars.
They still have to pay whatever it is to foreclose.
Or what, yeah, I mean,
They
if
have
they're
to-
embellishing it, they're
can-
embellishing it, but, that's.
Can they lien the property for, they can lien the property for not paying?
I would think I can lien it, just like I can lien somebody if they don't pay their plow bill, I can lien their
You can
property
lien them,
for it.
yeah. Because I
And
think what
that's-
happens is you can't use the unit. I don't know if they get lien, but you
Change the
can't.
lock or whatever,
you
yeah.
just- you
So then they're
can't
not
check
getting
in.
their maintenance fees.
Right, you can't check
And
in.
that's the, I mean,
So they're still renting them out, so they're getting money, but they don't have to pay it to,
I don't know how that works. I don't know how that works. But what I know is that taking on this ordinance, the only additional cost is gonna be somebody looking at a spreadsheet saying, okay, I gotta add this figure to the HOA fees for this quarter.
another.
That's the only incurred cost, and then if they don't pay, then I have to track that they don't pay, but you have to do that for maintenance fees anyway, and I gotta say, okay, that person needs a lien.
Right.
But they should be doing that anyway on their maintenance fees, because if not, they're not getting their maintenance fees.
We can go round and round all night.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's why they're running for money too.
Yeah, the two things for me are, what's best for the town. And not two things, but what's best for the town is the only thing. And it's not because it's easiest, it's what's best for the town. I mean, you've heard me say it before,
The last thing I wanna say is, if we don't do this, then I feel like we need to come up with a plan B for these timeshares, whether it's we don't lien them anymore, and we just waive all of these taxes, because if we're gonna have to share the cost of selling each one of these taxes so that so the HOA doesn't incur $2,000 in back HOA fees, then there's no benefit to the town to continue doing this. None.
And if we, as a town, stop collecting the taxes, stop leaning people for non-payment of taxes, why would you pay your taxes?
Yeah.
Well,
That's
any
where,
of us.
Right.
that's where I'm at. This ordinance fixes all of that for us, because we're, you know, what are we gonna do here? But these people aren't paying, they don't pay, and if we own it for a month, 2 months, a quarter, and then they have a $1,000 HOA fee that they have to pay on top of what they're paying us, and the only way for them to waive that is so that we share the proceeds of the tax sale. There's no benefit to the town to continue doing that.
But Amy, the sharing the proceeds is right now to clean this up. That wasn't intended to
Right,
be
but
long
if
term.
we continue to do what we're doing, and we tax sale these every year, we're still gonna have to split the proceeds.
Why?
Because otherwise, who's gonna buy the timeshare when they know they have $1,000 HOA fee that they're gonna have to pay? That doesn't go away just because we sell what we have now.
But we've put the pressure on if we're leaning the property owner, we've put the pressure on them to pay us.
We've been doing that for years, Jim, and
Well,
they do nothing.
We haven't leaned anybody.
Yes, we've leaned all of them for years and years. That's why we own them.
Did we tell them that we leaned them?
Yes.
You'd be here all night, doing laps around the table, having the same conversation.
Let's
You
go
know,
through this one
it-
next week.
Yeah, I mean, I
Okay.
just, it's what's best for the town. You know, once we make this decision, we move forward, we live with it. We can't go back in a year and go, we made a mistake, sorry. We can't find another piece that we don't know. So, you know, it would be great if Jim would give us a recommendation to say, I recommend you do it, which I know is one more step, but my biggest fear is we do this and something comes back that says, oh, we didn't know that. You know, there's another conversation over the weekend that says, it changes. That's been the hardest part of this entire process for me.
That whole conversation came about with the way we assess the properties.
Understood, but, I mean,
Yeah.
in my shoes, in my seat, my frustration with this whole process has been the number of times that we got new information. That's not okay.
The frustration I have with them is that the state doesn't have a clear, there's no precedent on this ordinance, there's no precedent on this law. The state kind of has turned a blind eye and said, yeah, we know these timeshares are a mess, we don't want to get involved in it either. And they're letting the towns do what they need to do.
Would it help if we got letters from town managers of Rangeley or wherever saying why they chose to do this? Would it give you a,
Not for me.
all right.
I think it's important that we look to see what other towns do, but we are our own town. We need to do it because it's best for us, and you know, because it works or doesn't work in Bethel doesn't really impact. Wouldn't it for me? You know, it's my fear is. I mean, right now I think we should do it. I think we should do it. I would feel more comfortable if Jim Casafikas said, "I recommend you do this." My fear is we're going to do this. And there's going to be another weekend conversation, and we're going to find out something we didn't know. And I'm not okay with that. I'm embarrassed that for 10 years we talked about not taking these things because we would have to pay the HOA fees, and we were wrong. That's not okay. We need to do our due diligence, and I think we have. I think we've worked hard at doing our due diligence. My only fear, I mean, I was ready to talk. I thought we were doing it tonight. My mistake, and I get that. We can't, right, we can't, my mistake. But I just don't want to be, I just do not want to do it and then go, oh, I didn't know that. We can't do that. You know, everybody makes mistakes and it's okay. But once you make one, you gotta make less.
There was one made 10 years ago.
Right.
That we're paying for.
That we're paying for now. Yep, that we're paying for now. So we need to do what's best for the town. And not easiest for the town. You know, same thing. Here we go. I'm
Right.
doing my lap around the table
Absolutely.
again. You know?
And I agree with you, but if it comes down to this isn't the right thing for us, we gotta think about how we're dealing with these. Because we're leaning them, they're foreclosing, and we're still, these people, whoever we sell these things to, are still gonna have to pay the HOA fees. So how are we gonna sell something for what we have, let's say a normal one, $800, they have $800 bill of back taxes, we sell it for $1,000, it cost us $600 just to put the thing out, and then we split it with the HOA. Well, yeah, that makes total sense. If I was the HOA, I would love it if the town did all my work for me. But that's still, that scenario lives on with us for the rest of our days if we do not continue to do this.
No, it doesn't.
Yes.
The splitting piece, Amy, is for right now for these units that are on the piece of paper, not for any others. And nobody's even agreed to that.
And
But that splitting piece, in my mind, is for those units that are on that piece of paper, not for anything beyond
but
that.
moving
The only
forward,
problem is it's a precedence.
and I don't even know that that's the issue. Still, the reality is, if we go to foreclose on these next year or the year after, they still have banked up HOA dues that have not been paid.
But at the beginning of this meeting, you said, who cares? That's their problem, not ours. Right?
So,
I
That-
said that.
No, Amy said that.
It is our problem though, because we'll never sell them because they know.
That's what I was saying at the beginning of the meeting.
but what I'm saying is the fix to it is passing the ordinance, because then we don't have to deal with this anymore. But otherwise, if you're gonna continue to tax them and lien them the same way we've been doing, and we even try to sell them on a yearly basis, the cost is going to exceed what we can sell them for. Plus, if we care, like we have for so many years, are we gonna continue to do this 50-50 split so that the next person might actually pay their taxes and their HOA fees?
I haven't even considered that.
But that is the alternative to the ordinance.
I'm not with you. I'm not with you. Because for 10 years, we've been leaning these things.
Yes.
Haven't tried to sell a damn one of them.
No.
We have not tried to sell a damn one of them.
Nope.
So, in my mind, when we put that proposal on the table that we all agreed to, the proposal was for the units that were on that piece of paper, period. We clean this up, we get this back to zero, nobody knows us anything. Next year, when we have 1 unit to sell, 2 units to sell, 3 units to sell, we sell them right away. We're not waiting 10 years to make this thing happen, and I recognize right away is 18 months later. But we sell those, 18 months later, those are on sale.
But
Without
they're
any
still
negotiated deals, without anything
Yeah,
else.
I
We
get
get what we
that.
can for them, and away we go.
I get what you're saying.
And at that
but-
point, we're selling for $1. We are selling them for $1, literally. Like one, I mean, you could do it for 99 cents, I guess, but we will give you this unit for a penny. You deal with the HOA fees, but for 1 penny, we will give you the unit.
Well, then you might as well just write off the lien, write off the taxes, because that's what you're doing.
But then you can't, because you have to go to lien so that people pay the taxes.
But that's real money on the table. On the books, I have committed taxes of $250 on that unit. They haven't paid that $250, and you're telling me that it's okay to sell it for $1 so that they can go to the HOA and pay them.
I'm telling you, we want it off our books, it's gone. We have
Right, so
sold
we're
the
writing
unit,
it off.
we have sold the unit to somebody who has given us $1 for it, who now will pay taxes the next year.
Maybe.
Maybe.
But,
Yeah.
and I agree with that, I understand, but you're writing them off. You're writing off the taxes by doing that. That's why I'm saying, what's the alternative? If this ordinance isn't it, and I'm okay, if this is not it, we're not going down this path, I want to understand what we're doing with these.
we're leaning them.
We are
The
leaning
debt-
them.
we're
We
leaning-
have been for
we're-
10 years.
Yeah, but we haven't sold any of them. We're leaning them, and 18 months later, we're putting them up for sale.
Okay, we're putting them up for sale, and we don't care what the HOA does.
Correct. Not well thought out, Amy, not well thought out.
Okay.
But great, I mean, from what I heard from you at the beginning of the meeting, you know, we don't care about the HOA. You guys are being too nice. Don't
You
worry
are
about the
being nice.
HOA fees, just let that go. At that point, we've cleaned up our mess. We have cleaned up our mistake of not knowing that we didn't have to pay the HOA fees. We've got ourselves clean. And now we are dealing with this property like we would deal with any other tax-acquired property moving forward. Who knows where the market is 18 months from now? Maybe these things have some value. Maybe they have no value, but who knows? But 18 months from now, we are selling this just like we are selling any other tax-acquired property. If we can't get fees and all that sort of stuff, we need to go back to the town to say, guys, you know, same thing I said at the meeting the other night, we're stuck. We are stuck. We can't get rid of these for what they owe.
Okay.
So that's, you know, but that's 18 months from now. We're
And
making that
every
decision.
month that goes by, it incurs HOA fees that will not get paid, that are incurring, that's why I'm like, I'm stuck at, hey, this is what we're doing to get rid of them, get it, totally get it, this is what we're doing to get rid of them. But if we set up this plan with the HOA and then we don't pass this ordinance, which fixes all of this, lets them deal with all of this, if we don't do that, and we continue to do what we're doing and we expect a different result, we're either writing them off and we're writing them off through auction, or we're writing them off because, hey, we know we're never gonna get it. Whatever we're gonna do, we're gonna do, but if you're not selling them and you have to keep doing it over and over again, then it's incurring more and more HOA fees just like it does now.
I think you're just skipping the part that we're actually gonna sell them.
No. Because whether I sell it for $10 and they owe $200, or I sell it for $1,000 and they owe $2,000, I'm still writing taxes off.
I don't know what you want me to say. I mean, I don't know what else.
What I'm saying is there's no good answer for these timeshares. So if we're not gonna pass the ordinance, I want us to really think hard about how we deal with them as a town.
Like every other tax-acquired property.
Okay?
Is
So we're gonna bear the burden of trying to get rid of these timeshares.
that what we do with every other tax-acquired property?
No, they're worth more than what we have on them, so we're gonna make money on them. These, we're gonna lose money and it's gonna cost us money to do it. So that's just a thought process, a lot to ponder. I'm sorry, if I'm like, I just wanna know, like, if we come out next week and we say, no, we're not doing this, then we all are understanding that we're taking on more of a burden for the town because we're never selling them for what they're worth. And it's gonna be a costly process to get rid of.
We're gonna lose money every
Every year.
year.
Yeah.
More than just the taxes that we're not getting paid.
Understood.
Okay.
I make a motion, we adjourn this public hearing.
I'll second that.
Very much, all those very much in favor.
Even though they don't know what time it is.
I got
7 o'clock.
I got bad news.
I know.
I got bad news that most of this did not record because the battery's dead. Whether Brooks has got it on a record.
I got it right here.